It's time for this week's episode of Brandon Sports Talk, featuring in-depth interviews from those who are trending in the world of athletics. And now, here's the host of Brandon Sports Talk, Brandon Pate.
Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I have the privilege to interview the Virginia State head volleyball coach, Coach Amanda Walker. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. Can you talk about how you knew that you wanted to get started in coaching in college volleyball?
Yeah, I guess a little bit of a long story, but I come from a volleyball family. So my mom is actually a volleyball coach or was a volleyball coach. She coached in college as well, so I kind of got to see her do that as I was growing up. Um, so she was also my volleyball coach pretty much for my whole life. So my after game car ride homes were always a little bit different, right? Because mine were more talking about the different side of the game than more so as a player. So I think I've kind of just been immersed into coaching since I started playing. And then once I played in college, I kind of always had like a little bit different of a role. I was pretty much team captain for 3 out of my 4 years of college. I worked in the athletics office, and so I think I kind of just knew athletics was where I wanted to be. I ended up kind of getting a job offer before I graduated my last semester of college, and then I kind of just never looked back, and I've been with it since.
Of course, what was your collegiate volleyball experience like?
What was that?
What was your collegiate volleyball experience like?
I went to Concord University, so that is a D2 school in West Virginia. So I played all 4 years there. I was able to play two different positions there, so that was pretty fun for me. I was able to set and play libero. Um, I really enjoyed it. It was a different experience for me. I had never really been in that type of environment before, like with a bunch of snow and stuff, so that was interesting. But it was really cool to kind of just play like a different level of volleyball to get a different experience, and just compete at a higher level.
Of course, going to Concord, what was that experience like getting to put on that jersey and represent them?
My first time putting on a jersey was probably pretty overwhelming. As a freshman, I did earn a starting spot, so it was kind of intimidating for me. My first year, I played libero, which was a position I had never played before. Um, so it was at the same time equally exciting as terrifying. But it was kind of like also like a dream come true, right? That's pretty much every girl's dream to play in college. So it was equally terrifying and exciting.
Of course, while competing in college, what was that experience like getting to have your mother as your coach?
So my mother was my coach up until I went to college. When I went to college, I had my coach was Kate Southcott, and I had her for all 4 years. It was an adjustment for me because I was so used to my mom being my coach pretty much my whole life. And in high school, I had a different coach as well. Um, so it was definitely an adjustment for me, but I also enjoyed it because I was getting a different perspective, maybe from like things that you know, learning something differently or getting something explained differently, just kind of getting different input that I think helped make me a more rounded player and a more rounded coach.
What were some of your collegiate accomplishments?
Um, well, I don't know if it's still a thing now, but when I graduated, I was the only player to have over 900 assists and 900 digs. I think I broke 1,000 by maybe like 15 for my digs. And then I think I was ranked in aces. And then I also was actually part of the all-decade team as a utility player. So I did okay. I don't think I graduated with any all conference offers, but as far as like school, school records and stuff like that, I had a pretty good showing by the time I graduated. I'm sure some of those are knocked out by now. That was a little bit ago, but.
What was that experience like getting to go to the Junior Olympics and compete in beach volleyball?
That was actually one of my favorite things I did playing as a junior. Because to get into the Junior Olympics, you have to win a qualifier tournament. So it's like high stakes. You kind of have to place or you have to win to get into the Junior Olympics. And then when you get to the Junior Olympics, you're playing people from all over the place. So I'm playing people from Puerto Rico, from all over the country. So you're getting like to play like the best of the best competition and meet so many different people from all over the place. So going there every single year, I think one of my favorite parts was just meeting people from all over the place where we all were like had the same thing in common. We just wanted to play really good volleyball. So it was a lot of fun.
Coming out of college, what was that experience like getting started in coaching and starting on the JV side?
Um, it was it was a little challenging just because I was so young. I think that I loved like the responsibility. I loved the challenge. I'm a type of person that really likes the challenge and I like to be challenged. It was really easy for me to kind of relate to the girls, and I think I did not really have a hard time, like earning respect in that aspect. Um, but it was pretty exciting for me to kind of like get, my own squad and kind of do what I wanted to do and what I envisioned like a team to be or how I wanted my program to run in a small sense. So the JV I think was a really good place for me to start. And it was a lot of fun.
What was that like going to West Virginia, Westland, and become the head JV coach?
So we had actually, well, I played at Concord. West Virginia Wesleyan was actually in the same conference as us, so I was pretty familiar with the program and with the school. Um, I think our first year, I I'm pretty positive we went 6-2, so it was a pretty good. It was a pretty good year. I know we definitely had a winning record, so it was a really good year for the JV team. I mean, like I said, it was just exciting to kind of be able to have my own program.
During that time, what was that like balancing being the head JV coach and the assistant varsity coach?
At times, it was very hard. I sometimes would have very, very long days, or especially traveling back to back to back. Um, but it was something that I, had signed up for, something I was very excited to do because it was such a good opportunity. It was very time consuming, but I think that's also something that we as coaches kind of sign up for.
Of course, while being the assistant varsity coach, what were some of your accomplishments on the varsity side, and what were some things that you learned?
Um, with the program at West Virginia Wesleyan, I would say I think how I measure accomplishments isn't always in like awards or like, records or things like that, but kind of like what impact you can come in and make on the girls or on the team. So I know like in my short time there, I built really, really, really good relationships with some of those girls. Some of those girls I still talk to this day. So because I wasn't there for such a long time, I feel like it was kind of hard to, like build onto the program. But I think like the relationships I was able to make, just kind of like the immediate like technical impacts we were able to implement into the program too, were like things that I'll definitely always remember.
How was that transition like from going from being at West Virginia to then coming to Virginia State and becoming the assistant volleyball coach?
It was, I guess, for the obvious change of scenery, right? When coming from the mountains of West Virginia into more of like a city type area. I'm from Virginia Beach, so actually this is closer to home for me. So that was kind of exciting being able to be back in Virginia, and pretty close to home. I was definitely excited again to kind of work under another coach and just get more information and more experience. I'm a type of person that likes to like gather bits and pieces and then kind of make things my own. Um, so I was excited to learn under another coach. I think that was like the most exciting thing for me.
While at Virginia State as the assistant coach, what were some things that you learned to then help you when you did get that head coaching job?
It definitely the head coach Rose White before me did a really good job of kind of giving me a lot of responsibility and trusting me with a lot of things. So she really kind of like threw me into, okay, here's how we do everything, and I want you to try and do it. And so she gave me a lot of responsibility really early on, which kind of really prepared me to be doing things on my own. So like very quickly I got into recruiting, physically going out and recruiting, doing emailing, doing phone calls and doing all of that stuff, doing paperwork. So when I came in pretty much at the end of the spring season, it was the time where it was like a lot of administration, a lot of recruiting. So I got to work pretty fast.
Of course, what was that feeling like getting promoted to become the next head coach?
I'm going to say probably very similar to that first time I put on my jersey at Concord, right? Both equally exciting and equally terrifying. It was something that I obviously really, really wanted to do. But it was also at the same time like terrifying in the sense that okay, now that like this is my time, this is all on me. But I think the exciting part was that I was really able to do what I wanted to do, and I had the opportunity to really create a program that I knew was going to be really positive and be like a really safe space for these girls coming in.
In 2017, what was that like making that debut as the head coach and getting to run your program?
It was my first year was probably my most challenging year, just in the sense of I think the girls that were, that were here weren't necessarily expecting me to be their coach. And then, me coming in and us trying to build that relationship right when season's starting. So I think it took us a little bit longer to get a little bit comfortable. But the girls that were here were amazing. We were able to build relationships pretty quickly. They were pretty trusting of me, which was really cool with me coming in and kind of being close in age to them. I was worried that that was something that was going to be an issue, like building respect and building trust. But they really bought in, and we were able to build a good relationship. And I think our first season went pretty well.
Of course, for you, what was that feeling like getting to move from being the assistant coach and having that seat next to the head coach to then on the court being the head coach and running the program?
It was really exciting for me. I think kind of like what I mentioned before, just kind of what I envision in my head now I get to make real life. So I have a lot of thoughts and a lot of ideas, and it's kind of exciting when I get to put what's in my head onto paper, onto the court, or just kind of how I would like to do things after time.
Of course, in 2018, what was that season like having your first season under your belt?
Uh, it was motivating, I would say. It made me super hungry to just kind of want to improve and want to do better. I knew I had a really good group of girls that wanted to work hard, that were super competitive, and that wanted to win. So that kind of made my job pretty easy. So that I think our first season kind of really like led up to how successful we were able to be for the 2018 season.
Can you talk about, of course, the culture that you've built for the program?
Yeah, that is probably the most proud like I am is the culture that we've created on this team. Not just in part by me, but kind of it's something that's the responsibility of every single girl that's on this team. They are truly like the best people I know. For me, the culture that we create is we are really a family, like truly a family. We're all very close. It is really a sisterhood. Um, we're the type of team that works hard, but we play harder. We have a lot of fun. We like to laugh, but we also get things done. So it's really a culture that I really have not experienced or been a part of in my tenure playing, coaching, whatever. It is just such a positive environment and a true sisterhood. And it's probably like one of the most exciting things I've seen.
Who are some of the teams that you faced each week in your conference?
So we're in the Northern Division. So we play Elizabeth City, Bowie, Lincoln, Virginia Union, of course, which is up the street from us. I feel like I'm missing somebody, but Fayetteville, Winston State. So all the teams in the CIAA, all of the teams that are HBCUs also that we're playing.
Of course, what is that experience like getting to play Virginia with them being so close in your proximity?
Yeah, it's usually a pretty decent rivalry game for us. We usually have pretty decent sized crowds at those games since they are so close and people are able to travel, especially if they're local or the students will come as well. So they're usually pretty high intensity because the crowds are pretty good.
What is that home game atmosphere like when, let's say, a team like Fayetteville comes versus going to Fayetteville?
Yeah, we definitely have like the bigger crowds, the more intense games, and I think a lot of that also has to do in part with the girls making sure like you guys need to be here. This is a big game for us. We've definitely, as the years have gone and like as we've kind of made a name for ourselves as a program, we've definitely kind of started to fill the stands a little bit more. So the game day atmosphere is actually pretty exciting. We also the Woo Woos will come to all of our home games too, so they're a lot of fun.
What are some of your game day rituals as a head coach?
Uh, for me personally,
Hmm?
okay. So for me, every day, I get ready in the locker room before the game. So while the girls start their warm-ups, I'm usually in the locker room. I get ready. I come out usually halfway through their warm-ups, and that's pretty much what I do. I'm pretty simple. I just am a schedule person, so I usually come out at the same time every single time. I don't do usually anything too crazy.
Of course, what does that recruitment process look like for those prospective student athletes looking to play collegiate volleyball?
I think everyone's recruiting process looks a little bit different. It just kind of depends on what your goal is, how soon you started. Um, but I think that definitely the first step of recruiting is number one, you have to have film. So whether you're playing high school, whether you're playing club, whatever you're doing, make sure you have film, especially in this day and age where so much recruiting is done online. Or a lot of the times we're all asking for game film because we can't travel and be everywhere at once. But I would just also say like having good communication with coaches, doing a good job of sending emails, and then just building personal relationships and making sure that coaches remember you. But as far as like timelines and how the recruiting process goes, like I said, I think for everyone it's a little bit different.
As a head coach, what are some of the things that you look at in those prospective student athletes when going out on the road recruiting them?
For me, first and foremost, because I am so passionate about the culture of my team. I'm first recruiting people, then recruiting athletes. So obviously, I'm going to recruit someone that is going to athletically perform for me. But at the same time, I want to make sure that the person I'm recruiting is going to fit in with the culture of our program. So I really look for like good attitudes, good work ethic, people that are coachable, people that are good teammates that cheer on the sidelines, that are engaged during the games. Like those are the type of people I look for. And then on top of that, obviously, we want them to have the skill to be able to perform.
What does that official visit look like for those prospective student athletes coming to Virginia State?
So official visits, kind of same thing as recruiting. They'll look a little bit different for everyone, just kind of depending on where you live. Do you have to fly in? Are you driving super far? Do you want to stay overnight and stay in the dorm? So those little things kind of differ from everybody. But for us, typically official visits, if they're flying in, we'll pay for that flight. We'll feed them as many meals as they are allowed through the NCAA. They'll stay in the dorms with the girls. I usually kind of let them do their own thing. They like to hang out and get to know them. They do a lot of team bonding stuff and they usually hang out. A couple of girls have apartments and they'll do stuff like that and just kind of like really get to know the girls and get to know the team. We do typically like to practice with our recruits. So we'll usually do a team practice with our recruits as well. And then campus tours, all that good stuff.
As a head coach, what is it like seeing those freshmen put on that Virginia State jersey for the first time?
It's very heartwarming because I know I was once them, right? So I kind of know exactly how they're feeling. And it's exciting for me to just know that like I'm, facilitating that being able to happen for them. And I think that is just like also very rewarding. Like getting to see them be so happy.
As a head coach, what is it like seeing those freshmen put it on for the first time versus the seniors putting it on for the last time?
Ooh. The seniors is definitely a little more bittersweet. I know for me, it's exciting to see them and how they've progressed and how they've matured over the 4 years, but it's also bittersweet knowing that that might be the last time they put that on. Whereas the freshmen, it's more so like exciting because this is really just the beginning of your career. And then the excitement is more so like, how are you going to grow instead of the opposite end of how proud I am of how much they've grown.
Of course, as a head coach, what is it like seeing your players achieve their first moments, like getting their first digs or maybe their first win?
Um, I don't really know how to describe it other than just like being super proud. Like I am always their number one fan. So like anytime they do anything good, I'm always the first one on the sideline cheering for them, or always the first one in practice giving them a high five. So it's just really like heartwarming. I probably get more excited for them than they get for themselves sometimes.
Of course, for you as a head coach, what was that first win like?
um, It was very rewarding. I guess it was like kind of solidifying in knowing that I'm in the right place doing what I'm supposed to be.
Of course, for your seniors, what is that like seeing your seniors go on and achieve great things outside of collegiate athletics, whether it's going professionally or going into the corporate world?
Um, well, I think that's kind of the goal. Well, it should be the goal, right, of every college program is to get these girls, get them a good experience, get them an education, and set them up for the rest of their lives. So I always feel like really proud when I see them doing good things outside of volleyball, whether it's in volleyball, like some of the girls that have graduated right now are actually in coaching in college. A couple of them are. A couple of them went straight into the work field, and they're doing really well and are being really successful. So it's just, seeing them do that, it's like, okay, we did what we were supposed to do. We got you through here, you got your education, and you're doing what you need to do, and you're being successful. So I think that's kind of the goal. That's what we're here to do.
As a coach, what is it like seeing your other players go on and go into coaching just like you have and teach players the same things you've taught them?
It's kind of crazy because I have a lot of girls that are actually into coaching, and they'll text me all the time and be like, Coach, I'm using your drills, or remember when we did this? And it's just like kind of knowing that I'm passing on things to the game, kind of just like my mom did for me, and it's just kind of like building some sort of like legacy of coaching, and knowing that, one, I hope I taught them well and they're using things that I taught them. But it's cool for me to see them kind of like follow into something that maybe they might not have saw as a passion, and now it is a passion of theirs.
What are some of your future plans for the program moving forward?
Um, my future plans are definitely to keep increasing the level of play within our program, which we have been doing every single year. Every single year, we've been getting some really good recruits in. We have some really, really good recruits coming in this fall. Obviously, my goal, we want to win a ring. We want to get back to that championship that we got to in 2018. But I think the way we're doing it is the right way. We're building a solid program with a lot of four-year players who are really buying into the culture, who are really buying into me and my vision, which I think is kind of like the most important thing.
What advice would you give those high school athletes that are looking to get into playing collegiate volleyball?
I would say get as many reps as you can, no matter what that looks like, even if that's by yourself. Kind of like I said before, make sure you always have film. A lot of coaches are going to ask for full game film. We don't really want to see a ton of like individual skill film, but if that's all you have, that's all you can do, then that's totally fine as well. But I would just say be coachable, be open-minded. Um, where you think you might want to be or see yourself ending up might not be the best fit for you. So just kind of really doing your research, making sure the school is somewhere that you would want to be, even if you weren't playing volleyball there, making sure the program is something that you're going to be comfortable with. But I would just think the most important thing is having that solid line of communication and really putting in the effort to make yourself seen.
What advice would you give those freshmen entering their first year of collegiate volleyball?
I would definitely say give yourself some grace. But at the same time, don't be complacent or accept failure, and push yourself out of your comfort zone and show up every day.
What advice would you give those collegiate players that are looking to get into college coaching after their playing career?
I would say networking is definitely like the most important thing. So go to coaching conventions, work camps, meet people, absorb information from other coaches. Like you're never going to be able to get too much information or too many ideas. So I think like having solid communication with people, being able to build relationships, and then being someone that just wants to educate themselves consistently, is pretty much like how you're going to get into this.
Of course, what advice would you give those collegiate players looking to play professionally after their collegiate time?
Again, with that, it's a lot of film. So you have to have some good film from college. I know a lot of people will get agents and kind of help them facilitate with things like that. But the most important thing is keeping your body healthy, right? You need to make sure even when you're done playing in college, you're still working out, you're still getting your reps, you're still staying in shape.
What advice would you give those people that are looking to get into college coaching, whether it's being assistant coaches or head coaches?
Um, I would say kind of the same thing as networking is so important. Making sure that you're building good relationships with people, because you'll never know who needs an assistant, and they might remember the time they met you and you had a great conversation about whatever it was. It could be involving volleyball, it could have not even been involving volleyball, but then you have a conversation, about the sport, and then people will remember you. So I think networking is super, super important. I think also going into a program and kind of like knowing what kind of culture you want to create ahead of time is also super important.
What advice would you give those head coaches that are looking to build their own legacy and build their own program?
I guess the same thing. Knowing what kind of culture you want to build is so important for how you guideline, how you operate everything, how you run your practices, how you recruit, how you basically frame your entire program is going to shape your culture. So having your big picture in mind, I think is super important for how you navigate daily things.
That's great advice. Where can my listeners find you at on social media along with the Virginia State volleyball program?
Yeah, so the volleyball team, we have a Instagram page, it is VSU Trojans Volleyball. We also have an athletics page, like a VSU Instagram, and we also have a Twitter. I'm not a social media person myself. I don't have Twitter. I have a personal Instagram, but that's it. I'm not much on social media.
Thank you again, Coach Amanda Walker, for your interview and best of luck as the head coach for the Virginia State volleyball program.
Thank you.
You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at Talk_Brandon, and you can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again, Amanda Walker, for your interview and best of luck in your future.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.